Caesar love human more than ape. You are not ape. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Kubrick Corner with me, Sean Wilson, and as you can see I have my Planet of the Apes DVD set here because I went to see Wolf of the Planet of the Apes today, having come back from holiday in Spain. This is the third instalment of the rebooted Planet of the Apes saga that began in 2011 with Rise and continued in 2014 with Dawn. So it's casting my mind back to 2011 when Rise came out. I was astonished by how good it was. I think pretty much everyone was, really. The whole moment where it built up to the moment where Andy Serkis as Caesar and that extraordinary motion capture performance, which has only continued to improve over time, went, no, that whole bit was a lot better than the way I did it. That you could hear a pin drop in the audience when that happened. And then, so that was a really good starting point, directed by Rupert Wyatt. And then Matt Reeves took over. Matt Reeves, director of Cloverfield, took over for Dawn, which was even darker, even more apocalyptic. Really sort of laid out the terms of what was going to come in the human-ape conflict, as Caesar, who's obviously the super intelligent ape who can speak, leads his simian cohorts against the humans, or does he though? This is the whole thing about the fascinating thing about the rebooted Planet of the Apes saga, is that Caesar is both a warrior and yet also a defender, and his main purpose is to defend his apes. And this is where we start off with War, which again is directed by Matt Reeves, and this picks up with both humans and apes at their absolute lowest ebb. And it begins with a tussle between a conflict between humans and apes. It's very brutal. There are casualties on both sides. We are then reintroduced to Caesar, who says, "I fight only to protect apes," but he is drawn onto a path of vengeance and tragedy that sees him eventually going head to head with this new enemy called the Colonel, played by Woody Harrelson, who's obviously a fantastic purveyor of villains. Although, as I use the word villain advisedly, because one of the fascinating things about this film, and indeed about this entire series, is that the whole villain aspect, hero villain aspect, is very foggy, and it's very interesting. It actually reminded me in many ways of the way Christopher Nolan treated such themes in his Dark Knight trilogy. The idea that good and evil are the flip side of the same coin, and it only takes a little push, in the words of the Joker, to flip something over for evil to become good, for good to become evil. And I think that clearly, particularly Dawn and War, take a massive sort of thematic cue point from Christopher Nolan, also in terms of their visuals as well. The visuals are wonderfully sort of dark and rainy and very moody and very noirish in a way. So there is an event that happens at the start of this one, which is sets Caesar on a very deliberate path. And then what then happens is that you get a movie that fuses the cult western The Great Silence with elements of Platoon and Apocalypse Now, with Watership Down, and also the Great Escape as well. So you have all these film references that are in there. And for a large portion of it, the focus is actually relatively intimate, and you have Caesar and a small band of apes. And it's really fascinating seeing the character development in both the smaller intimate sequences where very little is going on, and also the really grandiose explosive sequences where you have multiple CGI ape characters featuring on screen. I went to a Q&A with Matt Reeves and Andy Serkis, and they were both very humbled because there were two primatologists at the talk, and they complimented how brilliantly director Matt Reeves and actor Andy Serkis, and also the Weta digital effects team, had got the ape behaviour, particularly the behaviour of the Maurice character, the orangutan played by Karen Konoval. They really complimented that, and it was really funny seeing Matt Reeves humbled by that. So there is an extraordinary attention to physical and emotional detail in all aspects of these films, which really comes to a head in this third film, which is absolutely fantastic. It really does round off the series in as satisfying a way as you could possibly hope for. And what it does is it obviously, this is a series that traces the journey of Caesar very, very deliberately from Rise through Dawn into War. And the filmmakers have clearly kept their eye on the prize all the way through. It's like, right, Caesar is our guide through this, increasingly ravaged, deserted world that's tearing itself apart. As apes and humans are now at war with each other, Caesar is the character that guides us through this moral maze, and where does his journey take him? And it's a real credit to the filmmakers that journey is the spine of these movies. No thanks, in no small part thanks to Andy Serkis, who is absolutely extraordinary, and he is really, as the motion capture technology that he's obviously been working with since Lord of the Rings has improved over the last couple of decades, so too has his performance been able to grow into that technology, and the expressiveness on his face is really quite astonishing. And there are aspects of Andy Serkis that you can actually see in the performance as well, but it's extraordinary. I mean, there are close-up shots in this where I would defy people to tell the difference between whether that's a CGI ape or whether that's a real ape. It's that good. And the hair, the colouring on the face, the nose, the eyes. Actually, the eyes are an interesting thing, because there's one moment where Woody Harrelson's character says to Caesar, "My God, look at your eyes. They're almost human." And it's one of the most potent and powerful lines in the film. So that's really extraordinary. Not just on Andy Serkis as well. I mean, there's one shot where Maurice, the orangutan, leans into close-up, and the close-up must be held on his face, probably for a good 10 to 15 seconds. And it's extraordinary. I mean, I genuinely, if I didn't know that was a shot from this movie, I wouldn't know that wasn't a real orangutan. Really, really incredible. But not only is the technology brilliant, you also have real rich thematic undercurrents that are obviously building blocks that are their stepping stones on the way to the Planet of the Apes that we actually saw in the original 1968 Charlton Heston classic. So this is basically setting out the terms of that franchise, but doing it in a way that is absolutely not cynical, doing it in a way that absolutely gets the audience on board, that is really engrossing, really dark, really emotional, and which has a clutch of absolutely fascinating characters, both primate and also human as well. One of the best new faces in it is Steve Zahn as Bad Ape, who really does actually lend a real sense of much needed humour to it. It's not forced. This is a gloomy, that's brooding, portentous movie, and the humour must be very, very judged in order so that the atmosphere isn't unbalanced. But I think they do judge it very well. Steve Zahn is terrific as this ape, who was a zoo ape and who got used to being referred to as Bad Ape. Hence, that's what he calls himself, and he's a great new addition to it. Woody Harrelson, as I said, Woody Harrelson gets some really juicy scenes later on in which he appears to be this autocratic, ruthless, despotic character, but then you realise there are reasons why he's like that. I mean, he sees it from the human point of view. He sees the brutality from the human point of view, and there are reasons why he behaves the way he does. And in the end, it's neither ape nor human that are the baddies. It's war itself, as the title implies. It's the very essence of war that causes both sides to resort to very, very barbaric acts. And in the end, this is an incredibly powerful movie and an incredibly powerful trilogy about two species that believe they have the divine right to survive. So it's about humanity, it's about nature. There's a real philosophical undercurrents to it. You absolutely believe in this scenario. One of the brilliant things that this film does, as the previous two films do, but particularly in this one, is that it invests a scenario that is, to our current knowledge, quite ridiculous. I mean, the idea of bipedal apes walking around on an earth that has been completely ravaged by simian flu. I mean, that is ridiculous at the moment, in as much as that hasn't actually happened yet. And yet the movie takes itself seriously enough that we actually do really, really invest in that. We absolutely believe in these ape colonies and in the interactions between these apes and these humans. And the CGI is seamless. It's some of the best CGI I've ever seen in a movie. It's up there easily with the likes of The Abyss, Jurassic Park, Terminator 2. It's really quite extraordinary. It will be seen as a landmark in that. Really, really exciting action sequences that don't fall into the trap of being exploitative or explosiony and tasteless. Like when there is violence in this movie, you really do feel the impact of it, as you should, because again it's Caesar that's steering you through that, and Caesar is battling with his own nature. Is he a primate with human characteristics, or is he just an ape? And there is the malevolent influence of Koba, Toby Kebbell's character, who appears briefly in sort of visions in this movie. The spirit of Koba seemingly might be dormant within Caesar, which gives it a real sort of dark, uncomfortable feeling at times. I would say that in the UK this is rated a 12A. I mean, don't make the mistake of thinking that because it's a 12A as opposed to a 15, that means that this is going to be flippant and innocent. I mean, there are different types of 12A movies. This is very much at the strong end of a 12A movie. It's very, very gritty. It's very gutsy. There are lots of emotional curveballs that throw you in it, which is a testament to the absolute extraordinary level of the performances, the direction, the writing, all aspects of the production. Michael Giacchino's score is terrific. This is the second film scored by Michael Giacchino that I've seen today, the other being Spider-Man Homecoming, that you can check out on my channel here. Michael Giacchino's awareness of musical heritage in his scores is absolutely extraordinary. He's done it in the likes of Star Wars, and now what he does here is he really honours the spirit, particularly of Jerry Goldsmith, who scored the original Planet of the Apes movies and other ones, with that percussive, like, horn-driven, brutal and brooding style. I love Michael Giacchino's work on this, and I love the fact that he clearly understands where the music for Planet of the Apes comes from, and that is another really important character in the movie. As we were getting towards the end of it, I was really worried that it wasn't going to round itself off in a good way. I'm delighted to report that it does. It ends in an incredibly satisfying, emotional manner. Part of me wants to think that they would do more. Part of me doesn't. I mean, as it stands with this movie now, this is one of the best trilogies of all time. I mean, you think of like Toy Story or Bourne as being recent examples. This is easily up there with both of those. Really, really terrific stuff. Really powerful. Very, very thought-provoking. Good popcorn entertainment that stimulates both the gut and the brain, which is what all great popcorn entertainment should do. Again, I go back to, as I said earlier, with Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy on that. Yeah, I would recommend everyone go and see this, because what it's done, along with Spider-Man, is it's really enlivened what's been a pretty dreary summer of movies so far. I mean, any summer where we've had both Pirates of the Caribbean 5 and Transformers Age of Extinction. That's not even what it's called, actually, is it? It's called Transformers The Last Night. It's clearly a summer that leaves a lot to be desired. This is the sort of movie that you want to see during the summer, and it's absolutely brilliant. So yeah, go and check it out. And just want to remind everyone that you can hit me up on Twitter at Seano22, and you can also catch my other reviews here at Kubrick Corner on YouTube. Peace.